Ladies and gentlemen, do I have a show for you today? If you have ever had any questions at all about Voice123, this is the show you want to watch, because today you're going to hear it right from the horse's mouth. I have the one and only CEO of Voice123, Mr. Rolf Veldmam, here with me today. Rolf, how you doing?
Very well, yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited about this.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Yes. We talked before, and it was such a great talk, and there was a lot of great information in that, and I wanted to make sure I get it out to all the viewers and stuff. So, where are you located right now? You're in the Netherlands, right?
Yes, I live in the Netherlands. So, Voice123 is a global company, even though the majority of the work is in the US, and we're a US-based company. Over the years, the staff has moved over all different kind of places. We actually became a remote company in 2012 or something. So I'm in the Netherlands. Most of the team is around North and South America, but there are a couple of other people in Europe as well. So quite distributed.
Wow, that's amazing. How do you handle that? Like, how do you navigate all that? Does it present any challenges? Or I guess everyone's kind of used to remote working these days now, huh?
I mean, it's almost like being a voice actor, right? It sometimes gets quite lonely to be on your own in your own home studio or a home office. But like the fact that we've built the company that way doesn't make it that much of an adjustment. So everybody knows, okay, it's more about reading and writing. And then when we meet, we make it count. And once a year, we get together in a place and we actually see each other for the first time. And you realize, oh, that's how tall you are. That's how short you are. Yeah, we've been doing it for a while and it works.
Amazing. How long have you been the CEO of Voice123 for?
Yesterday was my 9-year anniversary. So it's been a while.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks. It feels like 3 years, but yeah, I guess that's part of it. Yeah.
Moves fast. So Voice123 has been around for a lot longer than that. So how did you end up as CEO of the company?
Yeah, so Voice123 was founded in 2002 or 3, depends how you look at it, by Alexandra and Tanya. She was a voice actress, he was an engineer, and they saw what the internet could do and thought about the idea of Voice123. After building the company for a couple of years, they started to do other things, and they have been looking for a CEO for a while. I had joined the company more as a consultant kind of structure earlier. They hired and fired different CEOs for Voice123. As you can see behind me, I like games, and that turned out to be the biggest asset I have, because I kept winning with Settlers of Catan from playing against the founders. And they thought, okay, the guy knows strategy. He doesn't know everything else. My background is I'm an historian. So we can train him to be a businessman or an entrepreneur. And so they sent me to a bunch of courses and taught me the MBA side of things. And then after 2 years of training, they asked me to take over. So board games has been important in my life.
That is the craziest story. That's so cool. You know that anybody watching this who plays Catan is like, I am going for a CEO position tomorrow. They're all calling their bosses up and be like, listen, I can do this. I know strategy.
We play one game. If I win, I get the job. Yeah, no, high stakes, but yeah.
That's amazing. Listen, like, you're crushing it on Voice123. It's by far my favorite pay-to-play platform. I think you guys do it really, really well. You know, there's some questions I think that a lot of people have about Voice123 that I think you address really well on the platform, but for some reason, people aren't really diving deep into a lot of the blogs and stuff that you guys are putting out there. So I'd like to answer some of those basic questions, if that's cool.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to start with the $1 million question. Everybody asks always, like, how exactly does the algorithm decide which voice actors see which jobs? What is it based on primarily?
Yeah, no, this is the hardest one to get across in a blog post, because it's quite nuanced. What it comes down to is 2 or 3 factors. One is we look at the membership a voice actor has, and we look at the feedback that the clients give us via the liking system. The downside of the liking system is that it is imperfect. So not all clients leave likes all the time. So we have to go by a guesstimate. So we take a year's worth of data. The reason we've tried different version of the same system, trying to get more clients to leave feedback, but it basically comes down to the essence of Voice123. If we want our voice actors to easily leave the platform, and we don't want to force the clients to book through Voice123, but for you to take the work offline, we have to go by an estimate. And that estimate is what used to be the star system is now the like system. So we look at those 2 ingredients, and based on that, we send the first round of invitations. So let's say a project comes in that requests 25 people. We send out, and the deadline is 24 hours. We send out a batch of invitations. So let's say we send out a couple of hundred. And if after 2 hours, nobody has replied, we send another batch. And another batch, and another batch. If only 2 people have replied, we might also send another batch. Your combination of your membership tier plus your ranking score depends on are you in the first, the second, or the third batch.
With the membership tier, does that ranks higher than the percentage that you're in, like the the top 10%, the bottom 40%, and all that? Is that correct? Or
Well, yes, because we want to get to a place where if you, let's say you pay the $2,200 membership, you don't want to be overtaken by a person who pays $49. Right? But we also don't want to get the incentive that you just buy your way to the top. So we see a mix of people in that first and second batch, all the way from $4.90. If we're talking about the US now, from $4.95 to platinum, they can all end up in that first batch. But the majority are the higher paying memberships, and then in the second and the $4.95 and the others come in.
I wanted to make that distinction because a lot of people think that once they get into like the bottom 40%, that they're just stuck. Like there's this common misconception that they think that they're in there and it's going to be impossible to get out. And I've even had people ask me, should I just delete my account and start a new one?
Don't. No, that's one of the reasons we don't sell quarterly memberships and monthly memberships. We like yearly memberships because we also learned, because we tried this in the past, that on a site like Voice123, but also on other casting sites, it's a different kind of voiceover game than working with an agent or doing direct marketing. It takes a year to get the full benefit of a Voice123 membership. Like we think it should be somewhere between 5 or 10 times what you put in, based on not only the jobs that we see, but let's say you book a client, we assume that at least 1 out of 10 clients will book you again and again and again. So we think it needs that time, and sometimes voice actors have to go, partly because maybe we don't communicate it rightly in the correct way. They join the Voice123 platform and they audition for everything. Even if it doesn't match them, let me just audition. Unlike other sites, that will turn into a penalizing effect because then your score will go down. Part of what we ask our voice actors, be very critical on what you audition to, because that's in the end what Voice123 promises the client. We promise you relevant auditions. We don't hire voice actors on your behalf. That's what you do. We just match you, and we want to get the most relevant audition to your project inbox.
What's the best way that a voice actor can ensure they're getting relevant auditions sent to them? Is there a way that they can do that by setting up the profile correctly? Will the algorithm then send them the right auditions?
Yeah, I mean, that's I'm astonished every time I look at that statistic. It changes, but roughly, I would say 80% of the voice actors on Voice123 doesn't have a complete profile. It's scary, but in Voice123 works a little bit different. You have to make sure that you don't have just your demo on there. You need to have a lot of samples on there. You need to correctly show which languages you want to audition for. When it comes to your casting settings, you can even put in some keywords of types of castings you don't want to receive anymore. Make sure your notification settings are up to date. Make sure that your minimum budget or the type of projects you want to receive are the right ones. Default is everything on. Sometimes by accident, voice actors suggest I no longer want to receive projects that have a range budget, but then you miss out a lot of the projects, or I don't want to put in proposals, but the majority of the projects are based on what voice actors quote. It's all about the settings in the profile that just give you an edge on half of the people.
You know, I actually wasn't aware about the negative keywords, the keywords that you don't want to see anymore, because sometimes I'll see audiobooks and like, I'm not going to do an audiobook. It's just me. I'm kind of lazy that way. So if I put audiobooks in there, then I should stop receiving them.
Yes, I think so. And also like, we don't want to train an algorithm that also looks at ethnicity. Sometimes clients ask for English US, that's everybody, right? But then they put in an ethnic addition to it, and we don't want to put that on profiles because then you get all these unintended consequences in an algorithm. So that's one way to train your own algorithm as well. Like, I don't want to receive anything that's not my ethnicity or my gender affirmation that is outside of the two main ones. So you can train it that way as well. And to build on that, like, you could also just say, why doesn't Voice123 ask if it's an audiobook or not, or ask what is the usage? In some of the projects, there's not enough information for voice actors to have a proper quote. And that's because what people keep forgetting is that the people who post jobs, in the majority, are people who are not familiar with the voiceover industry. They don't know what terminology they have. If there's only a little bit of friction, clients move away. So we've seen it, if it takes more than 4 seconds to load, or more than 2 seconds to load, people leave. If there's a question they don't understand, people leave. So the goal of our client side of the platform is, how can we make it as easy as possible to post that first project, get you in touch with the voice actors. That's how you learn about the industry, and then you come back and keep going through it. But there's a forever tension between the voice actor, I need more, and the client, I don't want to be overwhelmed. So we have to balance a little bit of both.
I get you. That makes total sense. Now, I have a question actually that just kind of came up just now with what you were saying. For quoted jobs, when they don't list what their budget is and you don't have enough information to quote, one thing I've been doing is just submitting an audition where it says TBD, to be determined, like when you scroll all the way down. Is that fine, or do you find like on your end, does that sort of push clients away? They're like, oh, now I got to talk to this guy. Do they just want a quote? You got to do your best to quote it.
We put that TBD there. I'm not a fan of it. We put that because precisely this scenario, and boys like, I don't know yet, so I don't want to commit to a quote. The reasons clients are asking for a quote is because they sincerely don't know what the project is going to be like. So you end up in the same position and having to do it later based on an additional conversation. What I see people do is that, hey, I don't know enough about this project, but this is my minimum rate for these projects, and this is my addition. I think it would be smarter to do that, but also put in your comment section, hey, if there's an additional usage, the price might change, but for this kind of stuff, this is normally my minimal budget.
I see.
I think that might be a more helpful way to put a quote in there.
100%. You know, one thing, I have a suggestion. You don't have to commit to it right now, but one thing that might make it a little bit easier, because it's when you submit your proposal, it saves it, I guess, through cookies and the website and all that, but you can't save an actual template. So sometimes when you submit and you're going through a bunch and you submit to, let's say a quoted job, and I put, this is my minimum rate, I don't know enough about the project, and I forget to take that off, that will still be there when I submit to the next client. So essentially I have to kind of copy and paste templates quite a bit, especially if I'm having a big day of auditioning. Is templates something that would be possible on the platform? Is it something you've considered before?
We've considered it, and it's on the roadmap, but it's also the most corporate way to say that we're not working on it right now. So it's on the roadmap.
That's awesome.
But it's also, I know for sure that's not something that's going to be implemented in the next 3 or 4 months. We're trying to find a cheap way to do it, and we're making some changes with our way that we're signing audio files. We're thinking of putting the terms of conditions on the audio files themselves. So let's say you can put in there, you can only use this for this, this, and this. Maybe part of the proposal will move to the audio file itself, and that's where we are likely to implement this template. So yes, but not yet.
I get you. That's great. Cool. Now I have a question about the client side. When you send in an audition, how are they seeing the auditions? Is it ranked for how fast you get them in? Like, or is it true numbers? Like if I'm the first person to audition, will I be number one? Or because I'm a platinum actor, if 10 people that audition before me are at the $300 or $500 buy-in level, or $800 even, I've got a better, what is it? I'm in the top 10% annual platinum actor. Will I rank higher? Can they filter it? Or is it just true like whoever gets in first?
The version you described about us automatically putting platinums over others, that doesn't happen. It is the default is that first one comes in and then the rest just fills up. But what clients then tend to do is they put the filter the other way around, halfway through the project. Like in the beginning that makes sense, but then they wait for maybe more submissions. So they sort it new first, so they can get the latest one. Yeah, so we allow for both. But the most normal way is I see them as they come in, and if I'm in the middle of my project, I might change that the other way around so I can check them as they come in.
That is mind-blowing because in my community, in my VoiceOver School community, I've been telling people once it gets past, if it says the client has a 60% listen ratio, don't audition past 60 submissions. If they have 70%, don't, because you're just kind of wasting your time. But that just flips what we'll have to redo that whole module.
It really depends on the person, right? If they don't use that filter, then you're 100% right. And also, like we used to have let's say they request 25 auditions, and then we had a hard stop at 25. But then the voice actor said, like, I got invited, I want to at least submit. So we opened that up, but then if it's too popular of a project, suddenly for a 25 audition, you can't do 1,000. So we have to still put a stop to it. And sometimes the client, even halfway through, stops the audition process. I'm already have my winner, I stop it here.
Do you have access to a number? Is there a number on average that clients will listen to? Like I usually say around 50 is what I would assume they would listen to. Do you have like an actual statistic for that?
Yeah. Last time I checked was 83%.
83%. Okay.
So clients listen to 83%. If they, to a project, they listen to 83% of the proposals.
Oh, amazing. Okay, great.
So that's the average. So some people are really bringing it down, but the majority looks at, I guess 82% looks at most of them. There's a nuance though. That used to be like 40%. And we thought, no, they're not. We have to do something about the auditions. But what we did was we used to only track that number after, I think, 4 or 5 seconds. If they listen for 5 seconds, they've listened to it. And then we put it, just for the heck of it, put it at 1.2, like 2 or 1 second. And suddenly it went up and up and up. That's because, again, the number one fear of a client on a casting site, if you don't go to an agent, you don't necessarily know how good the actor is and how good the recording studio is. And also you have to listen to a lot of scripts. So what tends to happen is clients go through let's say for the first 50 auditions. In an instant, they'll hear, oh, bad phone recording or bad recording, bad environment. They make that initial shift. The other one is people introduce themselves. I'm Rolf Veldmam. I'm reading for this. Don't do that. Just straight to the point. So they listen, but they already make a snap decision instantly in the first couple of seconds. So that first, even more so than on a demo reel, that first couple of seconds needs to be the hook of your audition.
Yeah, 100%. I always tell people to take the most time on that. Don't race through it. But at the same time, you might just not be the right sound of a voice that they're looking for that project. You could be excellent. They're like, oh, no, not right to fit. And it's not personal. They just kind of move on.
And it has nothing to do with how good or bad you are. It's just for this specific voice, specific voice project, you're not a match. Yeah.
Now with numbers, do you have another number besides the percentage? Like all things being equal, when people are submitting a job, and let's say they want 25 auditions. Well, if they keep it open, presumably 100 people could audition for it.
Well, no, we do stop it. I think after. I think it's first when it hits the deadline. If it doesn't hit the deadline, I think it is after 50% of that. So it should be around 40 or something. Sometimes don't quote me on that. Oh, we're live. We're not live, but you can see. I don't know the exact number, but there is a cap because I know that if you're let's say if you're a casting director for a video game, you listen to on average between 100 and 200 auditions, but you can only do a max of I think 25 or 50 on Voice123. So the question is, are we going to up that number because a type of client wants to listen to more audition? And if they don't, what they tend to do is they post the project again. So I don't quite know what to do there. From a voice actor perspective, I can see like one of the benefits is I don't want to compete with so many people. Apparently, a lot of casting directors specifically like to listen to a lot of voices.
Yeah, it really depends on the project for sure. But I do find that from like my investigations as well. And sometimes I'll see, a project, it'll be posted on multiple casting sites as well.
That happens, I think, in almost 25% of the cases. You'll see the same project on voices.com and on Voice123.
Yeah, 100%. Well, in the latter as well, I think voices.com is a little bit more brutal about who they send their auditions to. And I've actually talked to them about that because what it does is it sends auditions to other platforms as well. So I think once you've got a client on your site, from my perspective, give them the full reins, because then they're going to stay on your platform, whether it's you or Voices, because that's going to stop from feeding your competition as well.
Fair enough. Yeah. But we want to cater to both sides. Like I also understand that one of the benefits is I don't want to be in another place where there's 100 other people auditioning. But yeah, it's finding that balance. That's the trick.
It's a good point. It's a good point. So what are, we talked about this before, and I thought it was really interesting, your response. Like, what are clients actually looking for? What are the main things that they want out of their voice actor? I thought it would be like, we want somebody amazing, but...
Yeah, no, it's not the least concerning part. It's also important, but let's assume different types of clients, right? You have people who work in agencies and deal with creative projects all the time. They instantly know what's good or bad, so they tend to look a little bit more like on the performance side. You have a lot of people who buy a voiceover once, and they come from a place, well, the guy in the office wasn't that good, I need to hire somebody else. People with different levels of expertise. Number 5 on the importance scale is acting capabilities. Because as soon as you have the word voice actor, as soon as you have the word voice actor behind your name, they think they can act. Like it's the magic of titles, right? Just because I have the word CEO, people start to believe me. Doesn't mean I make any sense, but it's part of the title. I think it's the same with voice acting in many ways. So if you're on the platform and you're a member, you must be good. What they actually are fearful for, because that's a common nuisance when hiring voice talent, is that, hey, your demo sounds really well. Can't seem to be able to recreate that in your home studio. Meaning you have an overproduced demo that's maybe recorded somewhere else, but you can't have that same audio consistency. The number one annoyance, audio quality. And it's all about your surroundings and the quality of your booth. So if you invest in anything, before you invest in a course, invest in making sure that the place where you record is high quality. The second part, which is important, of course, is does this voice actor match my budget? And you have clients on every level. Like I need something quick. And I just hired a freelancer that did the design, and that was $150. So this will be $150. They don't know the ins and outs of the voiceover industry. So that is sometimes a blocker. Maybe even more important is, what's it like to work with this person? They have to deal with you in the end, and you're gonna and that's part of the voice actor career as well. Like I have to build a relationship with this client because ideally I want to keep working with that person. Like you would be amazed the kind of messaging people are sending on auditions with simple things like massive grammar errors, or do everything in caps lock, or be very aggressive because they think they're being screwed over or some sort. Like just the fact that you're consistent. I work these hours, I'm available then, this is how I communicate, these are my rates. Like that seems to be the most important decisive factor for clients. Like how easy is this process for me to work with this professional? So there's a customer success side to being a voice actor that I would not underestimate.
Yeah, 100%. You know, from all the people I've worked with as well, they're always saying that speed and customer service is of the utmost importance for sure in this business, because they're often behind and they want to deal with people that they like working with that, you know the ins and outs of the business. How many people would you say there are brand new to like hiring voice actors on Voice123?
20% of our clients are always new.
That's a pretty big number.
No, but then it's different types of new, right? So it tends to happen as well. People move jobs. So it's always sometimes it's the assistant of the producer posting the job on Voice123, not knowing what they're doing. They post the job, but they actually work for a company that does it longer. At least the way that we see it, because you don't have to stay on the platform. For Voice123, is not much of a recurring business. We see that a client posts for an average about 7 years on Voice123, and then they don't come back. But that means that it might post a project every 4 months, because that's their voiceover need. But yeah, I would say about 25% of them are new.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty big number regardless. And one thing I would say is, like, anybody watching this who may get like a message where the rates are totally off in a message, they're offering you, let's say it's a job that's around, let's say you're going to charge normally 800 and they offer it to you for 100. From my experience, you can negotiate something that works for both of you, and also don't take offense by it, because they may have never done a quote before. Maybe to them that's a lot of money, and they're like, well, all you got to do is talk. Especially
because the new generation of people who buy voiceover think first of AI. So they go to an AI solution and it's an hour, $12. That's good stuff, right? And then we're like, okay, this doesn't work. And then I have to I'm gonna go and work with an actual person, and then turns out that rate is $300. Like, the difference between those two is quite large. Doesn't mean they're not willing to pay it. We can see clients coming from that perspective. I no longer want to do AI because it doesn't work. It works for some cases, but not for enough. So I want to hire a voice actor, and then, ooh, that's expensive. And it should be, because it's a craft.
100%.
It's all about that learning curve. And we can see clients posting a job of, let's say, $100, posting their next job is often higher than the first job, because they learn from that interaction and then go higher and higher and higher. Also, we tell them, because voice actors can give the feedback when they decline, like too low, too low, too low. We tell the client, hey, you're missing out, because a lot of voice actors are flagging that this project is too low for your next project. Consider doing this, or consider reposting it at a higher rate.
Oh, wow. So when you're saying, when I go to decline something, it shows all the reasons that are kind of stock reasons. When it says budget disagreement, when I click that and you get a bunch of those, you'll actually inform the client, like, hey, you're getting a lot of that. You might want to post at a higher rate to get a higher caliber voice actor, if that's what they're looking for, that kind of thing.
And it's normally the number one reason they do change. Like, even for us, organically, we follow up if it's low budget. Like here, we show them Great for the Brain or GVA. Like, these are industry rates that other institutions have thought about, but be mindful that if you don't put those kind of rates, you get a different type of actor. Not saying those actors are bad. I believe most of the actors are pros, but you have people with 20 years of experience that charge higher, like in any branch.
Yeah. That's so great that came up, because I always thought that when I would click any of those reasons, including budget disagreement, that it would trigger the algorithm to stop sending me jobs at that budget rate.
It does not train the algorithm. No.
Okay.
It only gives us information that we can relate back to the client, or that our success team can intervene. Like, we're getting a lot of complaints on these areas, and then we can talk to the client. That's more an information thing for our team.
That's awesome. Everybody's terrified of the algorithm. They don't want to.
I know, but it's an annoying world. I teach a class every Friday on social media algorithms, and I to children about 14, 15, and I tell them, like, this is how you get into a conspiracy theory. This is why Instagram is addictive. And those are, I feel like, very bad algorithms. But I think we're overselling the Voice123 algorithm a little bit. It's basically, we are an agent on steroids. Like, we get a project, we need to invite from our 100,000 people, we need to invite the first 10, we're going to invite the first 10. Like, that's what it comes down to. It's a simple decision tree. We fancy it a little bit by calling it an algorithm, but if it comes down to it, it's pretty straightforward.
Now, I want to get into AI in just a second, but one last thing I want to ask about. When a client's searching for actors on Voice123, how do they usually do it? Do they just click search and then they see like pages and pages of the platinum actors, or do they actually type in terms? And if your demo is tagged a certain way, you might come up if you're not a platinum actor.
Yeah, that's the biggest change. It used to be 70% of all the jobs on Voice123 were casting projects, and 30% of them were like search and contact, is what we call them. But now that's almost 50-50. So
really?
More and more clients are looking for the direct contact and direct search. The most impressive one of realization we had is that, in the beginning this happened. A client lands on the search page and you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes later, you can see 15 actors. And then 10 minutes la but they only listen to the first two and decide on that. So they don't listen to any further. So that's one of the biggest benefits of being a platinum member. If those don't match what they're looking for, so if it's not the right maybe gender, age, or sample that shows up, they start typing. And when they start typing, what shows up in Voice123 is the most relevant sample based on the keywords that you have in your sample. So if you're the only one that has Morgan Freeman conversational, just to name 3, because you can do maximum 3, then you show up. It's no longer ranked by membership anymore. So it's just the most relevant one. That's why all the samples are important, because we realized when a client goes through that process, they want to hear the voice style or the purpose of recording that they're thinking of without having to listen to a full demo. They want to get that initial, basically like a mini audition. They want to say yes, 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 no, and then they might open a profile and listen to all the other items on your profile. But it's for that reason alone, I would even make a free profile on Voice123 and only do that.
So even the free profiles show up?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you can get auditions that way without even having to pay for a membership?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
That's why when I don't like the word pay to play, because it doesn't have to be. Yeah, right. If you just start, especially for starting out, start with a couple of samples, see if people listen to them, and if you get booked that way, and then maybe consider buying a membership after you've figured out the platform a little bit.
Oh my God, this is mind blowing. This is amazing. Like everybody's like signing up for profiles right now.
Yeah, I think the number one mistake from voice actors is they buy a membership at Voices, at Voice123, and all the other places. Don't do that. Focus on one and try to really get to know it, because the profile and the way that you move around on, whether it's Badalgo or Voice123 or any of the 100 casting sites that are out there, they all have their own logic. So stick to the one, hone it, learn it, and then go to the next level instead of spreading your chances and doing everything at once. You get
100%. Now, I noticed when you're uploading demos on the additional sample details at the bottom, it doesn't appear that there's a max number of characters. Could I just theoretically type in every single keyword that anybody could ever look for and then just appear in every single search? And would that just piss off clients?
It mostly pisses off our engineers, but in the end, what is more important are the tags in the sample, and you can only do 3.
Okay, so don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, because it's no longer relevant.
100%.
Yeah,
cool.
So you can, one more thing about your profile, a lot of voice actors also do that on their about page. Like they say, I'm conversational, I do this, I do this, I do this, and this. That's not what your about page is or your profile page should be about. Your profile page should be, hey, I work in this studio, this is who I am, I'm also a person. Leave the samples for the samples.
Yeah, I get that.
Don't
Especially
stop
now when the clients are more interested in, your studio, is it good? What do you like to work with? That kind of stuff. You might want to lead with that, and contact information, obviously. What would you say percentage of jobs are completed like offsite? I don't know if you would have information like that. I guess it would kind of be up in the air, but
so we try to figure that out by sending surveys every couple of years and ask voice actors like, how do you get booked most of the time on Voice123? And we think that we see about 25% of the completed jobs on Voice123 via message or via a booking, or it actually they stay, or they sometimes pay through the platform. But it's a massive guesstimate. I know that people get messages on their personal website or on LinkedIn saying, hey, I found you on Voice123, I'm looking for you here. Or people have their email in there and they get an email directly. So it's very hard for us to tell. Like, I would love to know all of that, but it becomes closed again. The more I know about that, the less Voice123 works for the voice actor. So it's a balance. I would like to see everything, but I shouldn't.
Oh, one question I got to ask about that, or people will kill me for sure. Just before we get into AI, I keep teasing it. Bookings and likes, they're worth the same in the algorithm, correct?
100% the same, with one distinction. It only counts bookings that come from a casting, because we're trying to prove the casting side of things. If I just contact you directly because I found you on a search and I book you, that has no impact on the algorithm. It's only bookings that come from castings.
Okay, so when you've got a booking that comes from a casting and they want to work with you off platform, a lot of voice actors are concerned about putting the client through a hassle and telling them to make a booking when they just want to work direct. So you could just say, hey, go back and like my audition if you've got a second, and that would work the exact same way.
Same thing. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Cool.
And whether it's 5 or 1 like, we count it as 1.
All right. Now I got to ask, AI, it is here. It's all around us. It's getting better. How does Voice123 work with AI?
Yeah, so we do roughly 2 things. One is we focused the last couple of years on more of security measures. It's been always a problem in the voiceover industry where I audition, but I don't know if they use my audition, right? Without paying me. So we come up with a system where we can watermark the file, the audio file that gets pushed through Voice123, and it stores it in a voice cloud similar to like a Google Drive kind of solution. And not only that we sign it, but then we can also match it. So we had 2 weeks ago, we had a 3 weeks ago now, we had a case of a voice actor recording, sending us a video recording of a television screen where she said, this is for sure me. We were able to put that into our voice ID section that's available for paying members. And we could say, yeah, this is 95% sure you, and then follow up with the client, and the client ended up paying that voice actor. I mean, that's a wonderful story, but
that is so cool.
We felt we needed that also to work with AI, because we feel, okay, if it gets misused, we need to be able to track all these audio files, making sure there's a level of security in there. And the second part is people don't want to pay for AI. I have the same. If I use AI software tools outside of VoiceOver, I think, oh, it's AI, it should be cheap. But what they do want to do is they pay for the service on top of something that already exists. I'm saying that because the way that we view how AI is going to work is that every voice actor will have an AI model, whether it is with Voice123 or with 11 Labs, which is popular among actors, or I think EthoFox is a very good company that is very ethical in there. What you can do is, if you have an AI voiceover, you can send us a link, and then we'll add it to your profile. And what happens then is clients go to a version of the search. It generates an AI audio, and they can choose to buy it from you. You have to approve it. That has happened 3 times that they actually bought it, and 2 of those were tests. It's been live for 7 months. What actually happens in 80% of the cases is clients listen to that script and then work with the voice actor directly. What we see it being used for, and what voice actors are already using it for on our platform as well, is like a different version of an audition.
That is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And you know, when you told me that before, it blew my mind, and I wanted everybody to hear this information. It's mind-blowing, and I think it's going to make, you know, a lot less friction in the audition process. I think it's going to make it a lot easier for clients to pick their voice actors. They can get more options, and I think it's going to be easier for voice actors to put themselves out there. Now, I've gone on to actually make a voice model with 11 Labs. I haven't used it on Voice123 yet. I find it's pretty good in, like, I'd say 10 to 20 second mark. Once you start getting to 30, it's a little like, you know, you can kind of tell a little bit. But the one main difference from me that I found is I'm pretty dynamic in my reads. When I'm doing reads like for commercials that require personality, it's not just like a straight read. That's where I find that it really falls behind actual human voice actors.
Yeah, so and we see clients coming back with the same logic that you just gave, but it's good for one thing. And if you know one thing, that as a voice actor you need to have a range, you need to interpret every brief in your own way, and it's actual fun. If you listen to auditions, like if you see 25 auditions for a project, you get 25 different interpretations, even if it's just slight nuance. It's hard to copy that. A big part of inefficiencies, for example, pickups or a little bit of post-production. And what Voice123 believes is that it's like the 80-20 or the 90-10 rule, where there's going to be clients that are going to use 90% of your voice, but for the occasional stuff need the 10%. So they want to have access to your AI voice to do maybe a slight different version, or want to change one word, a little bit of post-production. The other way around could also be like, I don't have enough money to do the full AI job. Let's say we see that a lot of in audiobooks, like there's a couple of, or in e-learning, there's a couple of more learning aspects of e-learning where you have to really act and perform to keep people's attention, but there's also an informative part of e-learning, right? And that can be AI, right? So we can see, okay, we do 80% with your AI voice, but we also want to book you for those specific 20% there.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's great. Now, one thing I found, which could be a really interesting implication of it as well, is let's say you're going on vacation, or you're sick, or you've done 50 auditions for the day and that's all you can do, but you have access to, like, let's say 100, and you want to go through all those too, but your voice is giving out. Can you utilize your AI for auditions, and do you tell the client as per Voice123 terms, like, what do you like to see?
I would like transparency always. I would, because voice actors are already doing this. Like it's no even 10 years ago when you had the first TTS model, you had that problem of voice actors, like programmers already doing that, or just audition with a text to speech voice. Sounded very robotic. Just let the client know. Like if you say this has actually been an AI audition, I'm on the road, but this is my voice, I can do even better. Like that's fine. More like we would prefer that to happen on the AI side of things, because we have clients who are fearful, thinking this is AI, and sometimes it is. So we just tell them.
100%. Before, you said in 5 years you think auditioning will be primarily AI.
Well, yes, and it depends on for most of the jobs. A big part of hiring voiceover for a large section of our clients is also the experience of working with an actor. And the experience of working with an actor also entails going through the auditions. So this is I have my own company with a couple of friends, or maybe it's a mom and pop shop, and they're going through their first commercial. I don't think for those it will go away. Neither for the super high paying stuff. They want to actually do the full auditions, and they want the proof that we listen to 200, 100 voices, because I think that's just part of the industry. But for that middle section, I think yes, the AI will never be good enough to replace the people audition because of the nuances we talked about. It gets a lot of clients over that initial hurdle. So I think it will be replaced by that. Also because clients come to us as well. Like I don't have time to give everybody feedback, but I liked all the auditions. I feel I don't want to message all the voice actors because it opens 50 threads. But like they feel there's friction on both sides. Like they don't want to disappoint people either. So I think it will start to replace that.
And I heard Jay O'Connor, the CEO of Voices.com, he was saying that there's a big industry that's on the rise that's coming up through corporations where they're doing interactive training models with voiceover. And I think that's pretty interesting. It's really unique. Are you seeing stuff like that come through in Voice123 as well?
Yes, and like the dynamic advertising has already been out there for a long time, right? Whether you go out and it's sunny or when it's raining, the voice adapts. So we can see those are good use cases where AI voices can crawl in. Right now, voice actors are actually recording that, so you don't. So it makes sense to use AI for some of those cases. And there will be new types of content as well, right? I think that's AI takes away voiceover parts, which are mostly informational, but it also creates a whole new type of voiceover. I think that's where, if I was a voice actor, I would be looking for.
100%. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because I find that, some people are very scared about AI taking jobs away. And I think certain jobs it will take over, but it'll create whole new areas of voiceover as well and new opportunities for everybody.
Informational. That will be the keyword I put in my head. If most of your VO is about providing just information, it's going to be replaced, I think.
You need to add your personality in and be
if
a
it's
bit more
any
dynamic.
if it's any kind of voiceover that requires convincing people, or like an ad or an e-learning course, or it is about the actual performance, that will stay.
I agree. Now, with bad actors out there in AI, if they were to scrape, I think I already know the answer to this, but I just wanted to put some people's fears, put them away, basically, because some people fear that if they're putting demos up on Voice123 or other sites or on their own website even, that those sites could be scraped and their voice could be stolen. Is there a way to protect against that? Is that something
we already
that
have
can
standard
actually
protection
happen?
in place, so we see it immediately when a bot starts crawling us. Yeah, that happens every now and then where people want to harvest our data, so to speak. So most companies like ourselves have protection layers against that.
So then you don't have to think. I guess the next question would have been, is it better to make all your demo samples with music in the background or just raw with your voice? Whereas like raw with your voice, from doing an AI model myself, I knew that it had to be completely raw and it had to be, it had to be in my treated space and all that kind of stuff. But if I put music or anything behind it, it would mess up the whole learning model. So
yeah, but it will already be likely messed up because you won't record the sample in the same way that another voice actor records the sample, and most of the models are trained with multiple voices, so it's hard to just take all the data from all these samples and train a model. But I wouldn't necessarily put music if it sounds better, but what it normally does to clients who listen to it is thinking, because it enhances the performance, right? It's almost like a hack to make it sound better. So I would refrain from it as much as you can.
do you think the voiceover industry, as from your point of view, the way you're seeing it, is it growing or do you think it's shrinking?
Easily growing. There's never been more audio produced than ever in the world. Even in the last couple of months, it's been bigger than before. People are almost sadly moving away from reading and consuming more via video, and especially via audio. They're learning way more via audio. I think the next generation of our applications are also going to be all voice-enabled applications. So audio is booming. The other part of that is you used to have specifically an advertisement. You will create an ad and you could use it for 9 months. Now, if an ad runs 2 weeks, it's already long, right? Which means I have to create more. And on top of that, you, Jesse, and I, we listen to different places. We are in different places. We used to have a common experience. We would all watch the same TV program, see the same ads. That happens occasionally when there's a Super Bowl or anything. But other than that, we are in different places, which means that if I, as a brand, want to reach my audience, I have to make the same ad 5 times. So there's more and more being created.
That's really comforting to hear, because a lot of, again, there's a lot of fear mongering, doom and gloom out there. People are talking about voiceover industry shrinking, AI taking over. And that hasn't been my experience at all.
No.
I've found that it's only grown. Some people say it's harder and harder for new people to get in. I think they just personally need to learn how these platforms actually work, especially Voice123.
Has always been a complaint in the industry. It's hard to get in, and it is hard to get in because it's more than any other industry. Especially, it has its own language and its own way of doing and its own way to price. And there's so nuanced kind of rules that are part of the industry that it takes a learning curve to get into.
Now, I know you've got to run, and we've gone way over, and I really appreciate all your time. But the one last thing I guess I would say is, for new people on the platform, what should they be focusing on in Voice123 to really try and get ahead, to make a run of it? Like, how should they get their ducks in a row before they think about buying that membership?
Yeah, don't buy a membership would be my advice. I would start off with creating a free profile, figure out how the profile works, actually read our helps and our articles, and go through it. See, you can get then a weekly overview of these are the kind of jobs that flow through. You won't be invited to all of them, but you even get a casting invite every now and then, so you can see what goes through. The experience, the language, the look and feel. Some people don't necessarily like the way our system is built, but they prefer another. If you are thinking, okay, Voice123 is just going to be one of the 5 things that I'm going to do, then you pay a lower membership. If you're thinking, I'm going to go a year all in on Voice123, then you start thinking about $888 and higher. But don't do that if it's only part of your job.
Got it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, Rolf, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. You've been super generous, and this has been eye-opening and really helpful, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. So
Great.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
All right, everybody. That's the show for today. I hope you got as much value out of it as I think you're going to get. I think it's been incredible. And if you're interested in signing up for Voice123, do it with a free profile first. Check the links below. And I've been Jesse. This is Rolf. Rolf, thank you so much again, and we will see you guys in the next one.